today we're doing this solely because I finally watched a series that I wanted to, when I saw adverts for it, I was really psyched, but that was like very, very early adverts, so I forgot all about it and da 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 da. I recently binged like the first half of the first season, and I was like, yeah, this is a fucking awesome show. And that show is Humans, which is airing on AMC. Its season 2 is coming out pretty soon. It's already been aired in Britain, England.
I have no idea what Humans is.
Don't worry, I'll get to it.
Cool.
But Humans has already had its second season air in England, so we're getting the short end of that stick. But it's just basically, I'm not going to spoil the show at all. I mean, there are going to be spoilers, it'll just happen. But it's a show about synthetics. Synthetic, they're called synths.
Synths. Sounds
It's
bad, right?
it's short for synthetic. Okay.
Yeah.
But they're artificial intelligences that look like humans, and there's a big story revolving around them, and that it goes into like the cultural and the moral aspects of, sentient robots, basically. And in one of those very short and unreleased Relikiss podcasts, I actually questioned Buttkiss on the morals of Omnix and what we thought of that. So this is a lovely little just revisitation on a topic that we previously discussed. And it's a way for me to plug both Overwatch and, this TV show. That I'm assuming Season 2 is going to fucking suck, because they're just going to go into, this whole, like, look at these guys trying to kill these Siths. Oh, look at these Siths, that kind of thing. Versus the whole actual, like, morality and cultural questions that it would bring. Because this first season is all like that. It's awesome. And it's really... what?
Do the problems... Are the problems the same between the two series? Like, in Overwatch, I know, like, the reason Omnics are having trouble with rights is mainly because they were created to serve people.
Yes, it's a lot it's pretty much the exact same. It's awesome. Except in this one, it's more of obviously it's more of a realistic world than Overwatch. So it's kind of shown the progression of the Sith. Like, it's shown
I don't see how you can get more realistic than Overwatch. You have a freaking cowboy, for God's sake.
But it's very, very, very similar. It's very similar. Just there's some slight differences in certain areas, but yes, it's like super similar. But the show is really good too. It's also really good because the synthetics, they move in a very certain way.
Well,
Like
robots.
it's very obvious that they're robots. So there was this one character who I just was like, that character is not a human. And I was sitting there for the whole series like, how is that the character? Who is what? And then it's like, boom! I'm a synth, and it's like, fuck you! I knew it. So it was just so good because they actually like kind of managed to hide it, but they also made it, so that you could see if you're paying attention. And it's so awesome. So they did shit like that, which is fantastic.
That's pretty good.
So, but let's start here, shall we?
Yeah!
So, the big question is, obviously, do sentient robots deserve rights?
No, they were created to serve us, therefore they will serve. That's not my opinion.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm waiting for your real opinion.
Yes, they should.
Okay. But now, it's still a weird thing, because the question then also becomes, how do you curtail their creation? How do you make sure that they aren't just getting, more and more of them popping up and outpacing humans? And how can you can you make sure that they're being, I guess, created by some type of good entity as opposed to some malicious form?
I have no idea. I was thinking about that even before you asked it, though I knew it was going to come up, and
Yeah,
boy, I have no idea.
we talked about it in the Overwatch one, and I was throwing out suggestions like, well, you have a community of Omnics that already exist in this case, so it's like stop all human producers of Omnics, of sentient Omnics at the very least, and just let the Omnics themselves build new Omnics
Yeah,
and kind of
yeah,
put,
that's fair.
and then like
Yeah,
keep going.
you have the problem of you wouldn't really be able to trust that they wouldn't that they wouldn't contend the, that they wouldn't threaten the human race if you just left it up to them. But at the same time, that's kind of the point of rights here.
Yeah, and you can't trust, humans not to, military, like if America in the Overwatch universe, because they are, the Overwatch universe is like the United Nations, and they're all like, yeah, gung ho together, except for Russia. But if an American corporation, for instance, was like the one who was in charge of making new Omnics, you couldn't trust America to not then be like, well, let's make some military Omnics. Let's maybe put some code in there so if anything ever happens, we win.
Yeah, we'll have sleeper mix.
And you can't entrust like an individual corporation to do it because of the same thing. Well, maybe I just want to take over, friggin' Nevada someday. You're gonna just use my Omnics that I created, and think we're gonna take over Nevada.
I do like them there Nevadas.
I like the idea that he just has to take a big drag before he says Nevada. Oh
I've
goodness.
always liked Nevada. It makes some good key lime pie down in Nevada. Good Florida. Good
The best
Florida
part about
key lime pie.
Nevada is that it's got casinos. That'd be like the most annoying, obnoxious character in any video game or TV show ever. Just be like, shut the fuck up. He'd be named the Nevada guy, and it would just be shut up. He'd be the only character whose cutscenes you could never skip. You sit there and you watch the animation of him taking a puff of that cigar, damn it. And the end of the game is literally him like on a in a hospital bed on like a breathalyzer thing. Still like,
You'll be the reasons credits are unskippable.
Nevada.
Just play over his cutscene. Oh, that's brilliant.
I hope someone does that. But yeah, like you couldn't trust individual characters with it. You couldn't trust countries with it. Really, you'd only be able to be like, hey, Omnics, the ones that you have rights, the ones that we've given you rights, and we trust these guys. In Overwatch's case, you would trust the monks of Madai or whatever that guy's name was, Robot Gandhi. You would trust like the
Robot
monks
Gandhi.
following his faith, because they would be the most reputable ones, like the ones living in Nepal and that. They'd be
Yeah.
the ones that you would be like, hey, if we're going to entrust anybody with this, it's going to be you. But you made a great point too. Is like you have to let them kind of build themselves as well, because otherwise you're then not giving them equal rights. Which I guess is not the worst thing if you're just if you want to give them some rights but not up to the same level. But still, it's a very very weird road. It's a very odd quandary. I would definitely make it. Although this still infringes on rights, but if you want to control population, and Omnics don't die off like humans, so it's like I would be like, hey, every Omnic needs to be put into a registry so we know of each one of you that's existing, and when it's decommissioned, it'll its name will be moved out of the registry, and like that would be basically the way that we would have a census of Omnics.
It's logical. I yeah yeah. Uh,
And also, but no, you never know. You never know. It's just a really, really weird thing. But in the case of like synthetic robots, like that's even more like that's an even more weird thing because it's like they can make themselves, but it's not like in Overwatch's case where they're already a group of them who are all sentient and all ready and going and like, yeah.
They're just a part of the human society, right?
Yeah, so it's like, how, do you then break them off? Do you? I don't know. It's very very weird, but a more interesting one is in humans. There's actually only a few robots right now who are sentient, like who have consciousness and all that. There's about five of them, I think, maybe six. I can't recall.
Wait, so there's all of the synthetics are just not not entirely sentient?
All the synthetics are, mindless computer programs who are doing manual work like they're supposed to. And then there's five who actually have an actual conscience.
Huh.
And those, so there's like, there's those few that aren't supposed to be there. And they're entities vying for them to, be captured so they could be used for bad purposes. The five themselves are kind of like, well, we just want to be left alone. But the big thing is like they have the ability to give consciousness, to unlock consciousness in a shit ton of other ones. So there's the fear of, as I think humans referred to it as, consciousness proliferation, which would be the wide scale gaining of consciousness for numerous synthetics. Which, in that case, where you have a few who actually have legitimate consciousness and others who have none, but have that ability to be unlocked in them, how do you feel about those few robots, and what do you do from that point on? Because that's an interesting one as well.
That is hmm. That's a considerably trickier one than just already conscious.
Yeah.
I would realistically I would say that they still have the right to be given consciousness.
Oof. Taking a weird route there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I mean,
How so?
I don't know, because those, it's strange, because it's like, I don't fully know yet in the series. I'm going to assume there are, because these ones were made by a specific person, so I'm going to assume that there's only a certain, like, grouping of these synthetics that would actually become conscious, but it becomes like this case of, we don't know what synthetics would be conscious. We know who made the original ones, but we don't necessarily know what his full intentions were. At least not in this point in the movie. Maybe in the show, maybe it is revealed. But
All right, let me get this entirely clear. So they're not all the other synthetics. They're not just like their consciousness isn't just being blocked or something, right? It's just they just don't have it until the five synthetics give consciousness to them. Is that right? Or
that's how it is now. That's my understanding of it.
then no, I don't think I realistically don't think they're crossing any lines by not giving them consciousness. It's just,
Okay.
and I don't think we should. It just before I was given the picture that they had consciousness, we were just blocking it off or something.
See, that's actually going to come. Like what you just said is actually going to be a relevant question later on. To be kind of funny, actually. Yeah. In the case of just a few robots with consciousness, the I think it's a really hard call to make. Um, to decide what to do with them, really, because it's like, if they get together and they decide to do this thing, and they can cause this consciousness proliferation, which is just an amazing line. I mean, that could be terrible, because that could just cause things to go batshit insane. And you're giving consciousness to things that, from my understanding, have zero consciousness to them. Could just be, that's like the worst artificial AI, because it's like that's an AI that's like, we want this to be a non-human AI. Oh fuck! Now it's a human AI.
Huh.
Like you're just taking that choice out of the designer's hands. Like
Yeah. And then you have something that, for all intents and purposes, is a conscious slave.
yeah.
And then you can't do anything to it because it's conscious.
And then it's the weird thing too, because then it's like, well, if you gave rights to these first ones, you now have to give rights to every single other one. Or if you didn't give rights to those first ones, well, now you just got a big ass war going on. Like, it's basically a no-win scenario, unless you just give everybody rights, and it's like, okay, well now we have this really shitty scenario where, we have these work bots that we wanted to have that are now all, human citizens, and we're left with an economy that's completely broken. Like, it'd be a horrible mess because that's we have to, in humans, the economy is very heavily reliant on these synths. They are doing all of like the tasks that are menial, you know, stuff humans wouldn't want to do. So, but yeah, I don't know. Without knowing what those four would do, I couldn't really like.
You know, it sounds like these synthetics are just taking jobs from hardworking Americans. I say we scrap them.
No.
Aw.
These robots are taking our jobs. Scrap them. But we have actual consciousness and feelings, and we think we deserve right. Fuck you. So, this one's a spoiler.
All right.
There's a scene where there's all right. So it's actually really funny how they did this because it was like one episode they kind of teased that maybe a synth is kind of like a able to have sex.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, man, I wonder if anyone's ever just made their synth have sex with them. Can it even have sex? Like an episode later, it's just like,
Oh, you know that's happening.
well, an episode later, it's just like, hey, there's this pleasure patch that you can give to your synth, and then you can have sex with it. It's like, okay, I should have seen that coming. Why wouldn't you have the sex bot also be, the work bot? Why not? Why wouldn't you? Why would you separate those two? Be inefficient. At least now it can clean itself up, right? And that's what happened too. It had to clean itself up. He's like, yeah, go clean this. Like, it was fucked up. And he was ashamed to have done it with her, and he's like, it was just so, like, afterthoughtish. Like, you're also clean this up, like, like you fucking dick. It was so bad, but yeah, he basically so with these few sentient robots, there is actually again another spoiler, but it's fairly early, so I think I've already said in the beginning this is gonna be some spoilers popping out, but there is a synthetic who know how you mentioned that a consciousness was blocked.
Yeah.
Her consciousness was actually blocked, and she could, from my understanding, she could at least see and like knew everything that was going on around her. I don't know for sure if she could feel things, but at the very least, she knows that she had to have sex with him. Like,
Oh.
so in that case, firstly though, is it okay to use a work bot? So let's say a synth without a conscious, all that. A nice little work bot. Is it okay to use that as a glorified sex toy, basically?
I mean, I'd better say yes. Otherwise, I owe an apology to a few vibrators.
Hey, they don't do work for you, though.
Yes, I think it's okay.
I mean, it's weird.
It is weird, but
It's-
it's okay.
It's not something I could say, well, you can't do that. It's like, well, they're not a pet. I mean, they're still doing work for you and talking to you and stuff, but they're not like, it's not like he's raping a cat,
And again, it's not sentient. Is it conscious exactly? How deep? How?
Well, in this scenario, we're just doing like a basic work bot. You can't actually, it doesn't have a conscience, can't feel things. Because there are synths that basically get the shit knocked out of them and are just like, I'm okay. I am a synth.
Then
Like there's
yes,
one in a car crash. He just put his arm back into place and is like, yep, 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 I'm okay. It was pretty great. But yeah, I mean, go wild, I guess, because it's your thing, right? Like, I mean, they can't feel it, you know. It's not like they have the ability to say, I don't like this or I like it. They're just a thing. They're an object. As weird as that sounds, because they are moving around and doing shit for you, but it's like someone having sex with a vacuum cleaner. It's like, you shouldn't do that, but then again, I mean, I guess. Like,
yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna try to stop him.
yeah. But in her case, where it was where, you know, she had a consciousness that was blocked at the time, is that okay?
Absolutely not.
That's
I mean, wait, did he block it? I mean, I feel like it would.
he didn't know. He thought she was still, you know, just like he thought she was a normal synth. No one knew,
That would have been an
basically.
awkward conversation. But no, it's not okay to block out someone's consciousness and have sex with them.
But if you don't know and you force them to have sex with you because you think they're an object,
Yes,
these these are the lines where we are going to.
Okay.
I do.
I-
That's
This is
one of
getting
those
weird.
like,
I have to go. I have to go to my safe place. Cannibalism, 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 cannibalism.
that would be like what a catch. What is that? Catch
Catch
22.
22. Yeah.
That would actually be kind of like one of those scenarios. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's just what
I
do you do?
You could just not have sex with a robot.
I was duh. They kind of implied that it's his fault anyway. They were like, "Bro, really, bro? Come on." But that show's weird. Okay, people like robots. There's a lot of them just not being very quiet about the fact that these robots can do sexual things. And that was one of them. The sex scene on camera was one of them.
Sex scene on camera.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which was just him humping her on a couch.
Huh. Describe it to me in intimate detail.
He thrusted rigorously for a little bit, came, and she looked very unsatisfied.
Oh, so just like a human girl.
Yep.
Okay.
He then looked extremely not disappointed, but you know, discouraged and
Disillusioned?
sad, and felt really ashamed of himself, like any man would. And then he told her to clean herself up. So I mean, you know. Oh, he's also married, so I mean, you know.
Oh.
I forgot to mention that part.
Oh. Oh.
Which was another sticking point of the show. You did what with the synth whenever I'm your wife? Oh.
Okay, where's the morality in that?
Look,
Is that worse? Is that better? Is that just glorified masturbation? Okay.
I think because it has the appearance of a human, and you know synth bodies are apparently, I guess, if people are using them as sex bots, I guess very similar to a human body. So, I mean, it could be looked at as a replacement for your wife. I would be offended. Well, actually, I wouldn't be offended. I'd be like, whatever. But I could see why most people would be offended. I'd be like, yeah, it just saves me the trouble.
Thinking like a woman now.
Yeah, damn right I am. It saves me the disappointments of him being a failure. Yeah.
Hmm.
So what about? Because there's always one of the biggest, you know, sticking points to sentient robots versus humans, other than the rights, of course, is what happens when you add, like, what's the protocol? What are the feelings towards a mix? Towards when you put a human and a synth together. So in this case, put a human consciousness inside of a synthetic. What then? How do we feel about it?
Feel about it like, should it be allowed, or should we ostracize the person who has done it?
Let's look at it as, should it be allowed firstly?
I don't think so, no. I I mean,
I
I know that that's a common sci-fi idea, like put your brain into a computer so that you can live forever or whatever. But no, no, I don't think we. I think mortality's a good thing. We should keep it. We should hang on to that gem.
hmm. I don't know, you know? I it's a tough one to really say. Um Mortality is the great equalizer among men. Would I pass up the chance to put my conscience inside of a robot? No. Why would I? I'd be stupid to. But do
I
I want?
disagree. You'd be dead, and your robot clone would be living your life.
Well, my consciousness would be transferred to it. I mean, I would still be alive.
Yeah,
See, that's
but you
that's a
would. Yeah,
Sama situation where we
haven't
have
played Soma.
multiple consciousness. Well, I've already spoiled that before, and I'm spoiling it again.
Fair enough.
But
I can't hear you.
that's the thing that comes up in Soma, multiple consciousnesses. Um, with us in synth, I mean, yeah, I guess. I made this argument though for Soma too, where I was like, fuck it. So this one of me dies. There's another one of me running around. Good for him. He's gonna have fun. I'm all for it. But like, I wouldn't want other people having it. Not because I'm like greedy or selfish or anything, because then I recognize the dangers of certain people having it, of there no longer being any regard for the human form, because there'd be no reason for people to even, be a human at that point. They could just jump into the synthetic body and just go from there. They wouldn't need to be the human part. Like, if we have that alternative, people are going to switch over to it, and then everything that makes a human human is gone. Except for the things that we decide to carry over to a synthetic. And I don't know, it just gets really weird. It gets really bloody weird. And it's like, eventually, part of being a human is learning and evolving and all of that. And it's like, even if you've attained consciousness on a robot, it's never going to evolve on its own. It's going to need to, a human mind, an actual human mind, to do it. I don't think a synthetic brain or a human consciousness that's inside of a synthetic brain is able to expand in the same way that a human brain would. So I don't think that there'd be any chance of innovation if, you had no more humans.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's sci-fi.
Also, one thing about being a synth, you could be a chick with a dick.
Damn right I could. More importantly, I could just be a chick in general. I'd be into it.
Yeah, but penis is good.
Hey, I'll take
It
what I can
comes
get.
up in situations, man. I wouldn't. I would miss it.
I don't need it. Fine without it. It's annoying at times.
You'd just be sitting in a bowling alley, and then some guy walks up to you and be like, "Hey, you have a dick?" And you'd be like, "No, I don't. I'm a chick." And then you'd be like, "Aw." And then you leave all disappointed. You don't want to disappoint that weird bowling alley guy, do you?
Yeah, but it would make. I don't know. I would want to disappoint the weird bowling alley guy. Actually, that guy's creepy.
But I love that guy.
I don't know. That'd be an interesting decision to make if it was ever going to happen. But me now can't make that decision. The decision has too far-reaching of consequence. I need to know how it would look. That's part of the package. Look, I just think aesthetically, A vagina is more pleasing than a dick.
Why not both?
Because it depends on how it would look. That's the problem. It depends on how it would look. Like, where are the balls? Are they still there? Are they gone? Or what's going on with that?
I mean, we're synthetic. I'm pretty sure it's optional at this point. Right?
I don't know. I would need to see like design options and things. That's why I say
Yeah.
Relic now can't make this decision. Relic needs to have a buyer's manual to look over these things and make his decision then when he's informed.
Yeah, a lot of decisions you say you'd make them now, but if they ever come up, a lot of things just happen differently.
But continuing on with this thought process that we were on before we got
Our
sidetracked.
hypothetical. Yeah, go on.
What about what should happen to a guy who is putting people's consciousness into synthetics without telling them? Like, okay, well this person's dead. Well, I'll just put them into this synthetic and they'll as far as they know still be alive. Whatever.
I'm pretty sure that's mind rape.
I don't think that's what that would be called. Don't think it does.
Hmm. I still don't think it should be legal.
It probably
You'd
shouldn't
at least,
be legal.
You'd at least need permission, right?
I don't know. But then those people who were then put into synthetics and it wasn't their choice. Like, so you condemn that guy, he gets killed, whatever. We're in agreement that he's a scumbag dick. But for the people who are left over, who are conscious minds inside of synthetic, ooh, what do we do with them? I mean, I think we just treat them as
live
humans.
If they want to, yeah. Yeah.
But I'd make the stipulation, like, you can't tell anybody that you were a human, and if you do, we're going to say that you weren't.
That's fair.
And you will just
That's
look
fair,
stupid. Because we're not putting up with the bullshit of every single human then saying, we want to be in a synth body. No. Not happening. But, like, you can't condemn those people to death. I mean, yeah, it'd be the easy way out. But Relic, the good way is never the easy way. That's something we've learned from history.
Yep.
So. But now, we go to the question that that's probably the most important. And that's, what value do we place on the various existences? So, what value would you place on a human? What value would you place on a fully conscious synthetic that was made with a conscious right off the get-go? What would you place for the value of a synthetic who had a consciousness given to it? What about a normal just work omnic? No conscious on that. What are the value? Like, what are the values?
I feel like equal except for the work synthetic.
Ooh, poor worm synthetic. Of course,
Yeah,
that's not.
that's
That doesn't
true.
get any values.
Okay, I'll give him a 1 out of
No,
10.
he gets nothing. He gets nothing. It's 0.
Oh no, you have to value it. Otherwise people will just be trashing them. They cost money, don't you know?
Yeah, I mean that's true. They have to be valued at like a 2 or a 3. But-
Exactly.
I don't. This one's a tough one because it's like, I feel like humans and fully conscious Sith should either have equal rights or very, very close to it. Again, it would depend on like how they're manufactured and all the all the stuff going into like leading up to that and things. But they should have But then, if I have a synthetic that didn't have a consciousness and it wasn't being blocked or anything, and it was just given to it, like now that's a sketchy kind of thing to me. Like that's something like. That's not a legitimate consciousness, I would say. Like, as weird as that sounds. Because, you're creating fake consciousness as is, but it's like, this one was not intended to be a fake one. Like, this was never intended to be a conscious entity. This was intended to be a a normal thing. Like, I don't know. I feel like there would have to be some kind of protocol for dealing with newly awakened ones. Like, I would be like, that's not something I can handle. I'd be like, no. Because, like, that's unexpected, And I think that'd be really...
Unexpected in protocol, yeah, but I don't think they should be valued any lower than a
I mean,
entirely an always conscious Sith or synth or a human.
it's just such a hard thing because it's like they weren't planned. It's as weird as it sounds. Like humans are planned. You know when a human is going to be born. You have 9 months to figure that shit out. With a fully conscious synthetic, you're producing it, so you'd know that it's going to be fully conscious. Then it's like these other ones, you just have no idea, and they'll just be like, "I'm here now." It's like if you had representation and voting and all of this other stuff that makes up a good old human society, what balance shift could they cause? Not knowing what their values are, not knowing anything about them. I don't know.
Well, you would have to. I mean, conscious or not, at that point they know nothing. They're like a baby. Yeah, yeah.
What?
You're right. There should be a protocol, but they should still be given rights.
Yeah, I would, I really think like they would have to kind of be corralled at first, kind of like processed and be like, okay, well, what are we dealing with? You know,
Yeah.
what is this? What can we do with this? Et cetera, et cetera. Like, we need to figure out, like, because what if it has some weird inherent conscience? Like, it has something there. Like, I'm Ted Frankenstein.
I'm Ted Crisp, not to be confused with Ted Chips.
I know how to make cars or something. Like, they just know something out of the blue. It's like, well, all of this just needs to be processed at the very least, and then I don't know from there. It just depends, and it would just have to. It would. I'd very much need to be in that society to really kind of grasp what what the social and cultural vibe is, and kind of figure out how everyone else would feel about these things. Like I don't know. I'd really need to be in that time to figure it out. But from just a normal moral standpoint, it's like yes, they have a conscience. They should totally be treated the same. But I
Yeah.
think that's one of those scenarios where it'd be very gray. I don't know. I don't know. That's just weird. It's a weird thought. Weird thoughts. You have to think too, like kind of also the disadvantage of like normal humans would have a huge disadvantage against Sith because they would have as robots
Yeah, because the Siths, they have the Force on their side.
the sense like they're robots, they can quickly memorize things, they're faster, they're stronger, they're in every way they're better. So the problem with equal rights really is that humans would be at a humongous disadvantage, which would then, oddly enough, limit human rights eventually as society progressed, because the synth would become basically the superior ones, and they'd be holding high-end jobs and things, and humans would be slowly pushed into like the lower areas, back down into kind of a serfdom area. So, I don't know.
Now that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Kind of like Planet of the Apes, only with synthetics.
Only fuck apes.
Yeah.
That's my main gripe with that movie. Like with those movies is just I hate apes.
Well, given that they're conscious, that's racist.
Well, I'm okay with it. Hey, it's not my fault they're ugly. Sorry, I'm not political. I tell the truth. I think that's like a Trump line.
Most likely. That sounds like something you'd say.
Yeah.
They tell the truth.
So I mean, but like, hey, it's not my fault they're ugly. Look, they're just an ugly animal. Okay. It's just so much worse.
Even the females.
But I mean, like overall, try to balance everything out so everyone's existences are, like the quality of life and such are all about the same level. But definitely, have to work on some things. Oh, poor Overwatchers. Your world is fucked.
Most likely.
Your world is already fucked for various reasons. But have fun with that equal rights shit. Have fun figuring that out.
Uh,
I guess they're so technologically advanced in Overwatch, though. Like humans probably don't even work. And if they do, it's like, I'm Torbjorn, I'm building turret.
schmack,
This
schmack.
is the only people who work nowadays are military people and research guys.
And dwarves.
Torbjorn, ready for work. That's my retarded cousin over there.
These are my 9 children.
These are my 9 children. They're going to be taken over to Reinhardt's place so that he can play Santa for a while. Because he doesn't have a family. I hope that's true. That's who I'm doing, though. 9 kids, good-looking wife. Reinhardt has nothing. But Reinhardt gets to be the uncle / grandpa who gets to, read Christmas stories to them. So I mean, while Torbjorn and his wife kiss in front of the fireplace. I don't know who got the short end of that stick.
Probably the kids.
Probably Torbjorn's wife. Oh! Dick jokes, dick jokes, dick jokes, dick jokes.
And on that topic, man, Reinhardt would be gigantic, probably.
Probably.
Have you
Right?
seen the rest of them?
He's a huge dude. I mean, I don't know. It could be steroids. His dick could really be small. What's interesting, they make a really interesting comment though in Humans, with this like one of the quotes of Humans is actually like 17,000 pages of unique code forms my root directory and engages consciousness, and it's just like you managed to make a human mind in 17,000 pages of code. And on one hand, I'm like, that's a lot of pages. That's really inefficient. And on the other hand, I'm like, it's a fucking human mind. How do you get that? It's incredible that they decided to make some acidine number and we're like, yep, that's how we did it.
Huzzah!
I really approve of it. That's some backstory right there. They never had to mention it.
But they did it anyway.
Yep. But she also has a great. There's also like, Humans is just a great show. It has great quotes, a lot of cultural, like a lot of just awesome things. Even a quote of like, "What's it like being you?" Well, how am I supposed to answer that? I don't have a frame of reference. What's it like being you? It's just so good. So robots are great. I think we discussed a very important topic to society.
They're like more human, like Vulcans. Oh, nerd joke, nerd joke. I agree, you should leave.
I'm shaking my head.
That's good. I approve. Even though I'm totally right.
Yeah, but 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 yeah, like I feel like we have discussed something that would be very important to humanity in about 60 years, maybe 100. They'll dig this up out of the old archaic, whatever
Yeah.
they'll call it by that point, and they'll they'll listen to this and be like, those guys were onto something.
The IPv4 library.
Whatever library has survived 100 years with this shit, with this particularly shit video on it.
Yeah, they'll just have like millions of people going through everything that's even vaguely of note towards the subject at hand, related to. That's
Yeah.
that's the-
What is this shit? Oh, well, oh man, these guys are really good though. Oh, let's do what they say. Like we totally, this is the breakout moment for society. Like historians years from now will be like, this conversation was ahead of its time.
Yeah,
These
Yeah.
two men,
these
These
two
two-
idiots. They're going to call us idiots. You know this.
these two Neanderthalic morons, managed to. I have no way of making this sound really intelligent because I'm not intelligent.
No,
But,
defender. Yeah, those two words put together, that was pretty good.
but they'll be like, oh man, they somehow managed to like ascertain the spark of creativity or some crazy nonsense like that, and they managed to figure this stuff out before we could. Man,
This
those guys are visionaries, but they're also retarded.
this is the biggest breakthrough since actual Neanderthals discovered fire.
But anyway, we did our justice here.